Uptown welding brass, I went the grandfather.
You always get a little bit of shit in weld with rust, you know what I mean, but...
Hello, you join me in my van with my dog, Lenny. This is Lenny. You haven't seen some Honda content for a while. It's because I've just been enjoying the car. I've simply just been driving it and it's been excellent, absolutely excellent. I've been loving the car, but if you've watched the previous videos, you know how I have that small rust hole in the sill. Well, a good pal of mine, Danny, is a body shop guy, welder, fabricator, etc. Paint dude, does all that kind of good stuff. And he needed some work doing on his BMW. So he said, hey, do you mind fitting all these control arms to my BMW in return for me welding the inner sills on your Honda? I said, yeah, it's not that bad. It's probably about a 6-inch, be 2-inch square that needs chopping out and putting in. So last night, put the car on the ramp and started grinding it back, getting it ready for him, because I thought, you know what, I'll get it ready for him, and then yeah, get it ready for him, and then it's all prepped for him, ready to go. So I started grinding it back, got a bit carried away, started hitting it with a hammer, getting all the loose flaky stuff off, and the hole ended up being, oh, it's bad. It's bad. So we were there till about 11 o'clock last night, welding it all. It's all freshly steam sealed. I will show you what it looks like when I arrive at work, but it's not pretty, guys. It is not pretty whatsoever. It's very, very upsetting, but it's now solid. Seam sealed it last night, ready to go back together. But if this is what Honda rust is like, I would be very careful buying one in the future. Like, I knew it had a little rust hole, but it's ended up being a massive job, and I'm very, very grateful for certain people who I know, because I would be screwed right now. This would have probably been a 500 quid plus job, maybe more. So I'm grateful. I don't know if the rest of the cars equally as bad. If the rest of the cars equally as bad, it doesn't look equally as bad. This seems to be the worst bit, where the exhaust runs and the heat has just absolutely mullered the metal. If this is it, happy days. If this is not it, I don't know, man. It's gonna more late nights at the shop welding the car up, which I don't really want to do. So ignore my seam sealing. Basically yesterday I started grinding back this for the welder. I thought I'll grind up here as well, make this pretty, and then we end up with a hole in the floor. Then all this has had to be welded up. All that's been welded up. All that's been welded up. All this back end's been welded up. Big patch in the floor here. Mental, absolutely mental. So what I'm just gonna do now, I'm just gonna clean up everywhere I can't really get when the exhaust is on. So I'm just gonna do up here, this inner bit here, this bit here, this bit all here, and probably up to about here. Clean all that up, clean this section up here, all up in that corner. And then I'll just rust convert it and paint it. And then at least I know that exhaust tunnel's done-ish. Oh, this is a bit of a fucking mess up here, as we knew. So yeah, I'll just give it a best shot I can. Just blasting over it. Good morning. Another morning. Day 3 of the Honda, sorry. So the other day I got it welded, you've seen the results. Again, I've not been taking much footage, just trying to get the job done and off the ramp so I can do customers' cars. Yesterday I had the exhaust hanger welded on and painted it with a #1 rust killer hammerite stuff thing. Today I'm gonna paint it red with hammerite and then Lano guard it. The reason I'm using Hammerite products, something I've always done since a kid. I would never really do it to a customer's car. It's not something I would do to a customer's car, but for my own car, because I look at it all the time and I'm always underneath it working on it, I like to monitor it, and Hammerite just gives a nice thin layer, which means it's monitorable. And essentially I haven't ground the whole car back to like strong metal, because some of it's still quite rusty because it's a Honda. We've took the rot out, but some of it is still quite rusty. So again, if anything's going to get worse in my ownership, I'll be able to see it. Whereas, for example, the Alpha project I'm doing, all the rot's been cut out of that. All the metal's been ground back around the rot to bare metal, been treated, and it's now good. So we can whack a thick layer of whatever we want on that Alpha, and we know that it'll be sound underneath because we've done the necessary precautions and we've paid the thousands of pounds to get that to a level. Whereas a Honda's not had $2.5 grand worth of welding. It's just simply had what it's had. So yeah, I'm gonna not go heavy with like Gravitex or Undersea or Schultz. I'm gonna just keep it basic, paint it with a brush, lano guard it, and then I can monitor it, because there's now worse than hiding rust. I want to be able to, if it's going to get worse, going to start flaking off, etc., I'm going to be able to see it. Okay, so I'm trying not to be too depressing about it. I know it's a bit of a depressing video. I'm very tired. So here is now the exhaust tunnel. So everything that's red has been treated to some extent and welded. It needs another coat, but everything there has been sort of ground back, had rust converter, it's had some rust paint put on, and now it's been painted with a brush. So basically once the exhaust is on, I can forget about it. Oh, this bit will be next if I decide to go that far. So all that'll be next, which ain't too bad, to be fair. This bit's not too bad, but that can all be done when the exhaust is on. So we get in there to some extent, which is good. Which is very good. So I'll probably go over it again later. You can see all that bit, the back box needs to come back off to do that. But all that bit up there needs doing. Obviously, probably up to about there has been done. So I can just grind all that back again, it's minor. But the other side is the same, needs grinding back and going from there. Again, this is all a lot better than the other side. It's nothing like the other side. So I'm hoping if I take this off, this is all nice. But yeah, my plan is just to I'm gonna probably see if I can get a tin of red paint and just go over it now. Because it's hard with the brush, but I've got in I put a thick layer on with brush. Right, so again, unconventional way, but we have some more paint. Red paint, this time direct to metal. No need to primer undercutting, quick drying, whatever. We've done all them stages. I'm just doing it just so then I can keep an eye on rust and the way the rust develops, etc. And you know, I don't want to hide anything. I know it's not a perfect job, but the last thing I want to do is hide it from anyone, including myself. I like to know what's going on with my personal vehicles. So I'll flip it around now and show you what we're up to. So we currently have all this painted red. Looks pretty rough, but it's a nice thick layer of brush on Hammerite. So anything to do with the exhaust tunnel is now done. This bit under here and to the left, and this section back, again, it's not been done. That'll get done at a later date if I ever get around to doing it, but for now, this is what we're doing. Anything where the exhaust is, I don't want to have to do again. So here we are. Okay, and that's probably the finished result. That'll do for what we need. Looks good enough for me, that. So now we've done exhaust tunnel-ish. Is it dry? Nowhere near dry. Oh well. Shall I put another coat on? No, it'll be fine. It'll be okay. Right, exhaust on. I've gone back for a standard exhaust because that one is just awful. So get rid of that. Okay, so we're going from performance exhaust to standard exhaust in the meantime. So plan is, let's get this gasket off, if it'll come off. No, that won't come off. So what I'm gonna do is I've sanded down this, so that's nice and flat. Looks lovely. And this back bit here is in very good condition. And then that's all been cleaned up lovely. So I'm gonna smear some paste here and get some lubricant on the exhaust hanger things. And then it should just slip on. So my favorite lubricant for stuff like this is underneath all my rust treatment stuff at the moment. So we have this silicone grease here. I go through tons of this. This is amazing. So for stuff like this, you can't really get any better. So give it a little bit. And you probably just need, I'm not joking, you need that much on every single one, just to help it get through the rubber. And I tell you what, that is genuinely, that's all you need. Just like that. Just like that. And that will do for that. So I'm probably going to get the exhaust on now. We also have this rubber here. This is the front rubber, which we took off to get the car welded. So we'll put that on. Just smear a bit in there. Let's just see how easy it goes on. The paint might not be dry, but I'm over it. It needs to go on the ramp. It's good douche. So let's get this exhaust on. Okay, so this is the final result of the exhaust tunnel being done. So you can see why I wanted to make it as good as I could, because once it's all done, there's no real way of getting to it. Put the standard exhaust on instead of that monstrosity. I've used some self-tappers into the body there with big washers. Soak the end of the thread with the Lano Guard grease, so that will no longer rust. We've got no banging, no interference, we are done. This is jobs a good un. Done. Lovely. Well, I'm a little dirty, aren't I? I'm a little dirty. Bit of a weird video. Apologies that the production quality wasn't excellent. Just trying to get some content out, and obviously because I subcontracted the welding job, it's not something I can just easily film. Be like, hey, let's shove a camera in your face. So Honda's done-ish. Next, well, I've got a track day booked, Alton Park on the 28th. If any of you guys are there, obviously that would be very cool to see anyone. I've got left to do 4 tyres, cam cover gasket, because that's leaking, a rear axle inspection. So I'm going to grind my rear axle back in the common areas, make sure it is solid, potentially reinforce it with some steel. Some plate, just because I know how prone they are for cracking now. Terrifies me thinking that I could have a axle that could potentially fail on track. I'll just give it a car another good health check, make sure all the brake lines are safe, make sure everything like that looks good before the track day. Probably going to do that this weekend, just to double check, make sure everything's good. Tyres are not an issue, I can get that sorted pretty quick, but yeah, those sorts of things need to be addressed. Like inspected and addressed before the track day. Hoping that I can still go on the track day. I don't want to give it up. I really don't want to give it up. I do want to go on a track day. So I bought the ticket now. I don't want to have to sell it. So yeah, I'm going to do a few little drives now. I'm going to just wind the window down and go through this tunnel. So you can hear my new exhaust, which is absolutely silent. It's bliss in here, although I do miss it a little bit. So yeah, I will just give it a blast, and then that's the end of the video. Cheers for watching. So much quieter. Oh my god.